Bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
And welcome back to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. My guest this segment is Roger Nilo, member of the State Assembly from Fair Oaks. Thanks for being with us.
Pleased to be back.
And we're glad to have you here. And we're going to talk about, I guess you were one of the handful of Republican votes that finally got the budget package. Or infamously, finally got the package out of the legislature into the hands of the governor, as California really was heading for a fiscal train wreck. The dust is starting to settle. You are, in some segments of the Republican Party, a pariah right now. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing fine, and frankly, I've had a lot of supportive comments and messages also, but it became obvious to me a few months ago we were not going to do this with all cuts, and if we were going to have to increase taxes, which I am opposed to almost categorically, but not to the point that I want to send the state over a financial cliff. And we had the ability to negotiate some very important reforms to California state government that we would not have been able to get otherwise.
Well, let's get to those reforms in just a second. One question, though, before that. You saw, really, fiscal insolvency for the state of California as not an option. I mean, and you've been on this program many times, and you've said no to taxes, no to taxes. Yep. But you finally agreed.
Well, because the reason I'm opposed to taxes is because of the effect it has on the economy. Fiscal insolvency of the state would have a worse impact on the economy. We would see the insolvency of rural governments within a couple of months. They'd go bankrupt. Small health clinics and hospitals would close down. Larger counties would probably be bankrupt no later than August or so. The state would actually default, not technically, would actually default on bonds probably in the month of July. The consequence of that would be horrendous.
And yet there are some who called into radio talk shows who said, well, you should have let the state go over a cliff.
Yes, and they said, you're going to kill me with the taxes. And I just have to suggest to them, the consequences are bad no matter what we do. And in my opinion, the consequence to individual lives would be worse with the state's insolvency than it would with the impact of taxes.
And you and some of your Republican colleagues did exact some budget reform measures.
Yes.
To come out of this package.
Yes. We enacted a spending cap so that when things do recover again, we will prevent ourselves from spending the complete spike in revenues, so we set up real budgetary reserves that will help us in the crisis. That reserve now, going into this year's budget, would have been $12 billion had that measure been in effect in the last decade.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the voters have to approve it, so you have to sell it to them.
We have to sell it to the voters, and that is my utmost priority in the next few months, is to do everything we can to get that passed.
What else was in that package that that you can, I won't say necessarily claim credit for, but you consider a victory for Republicans?
No, I won't take individual credit. It was due to a lot of work of a lot of good people, especially the Big Five, and especially Mike Valines and Dave Cogdill, our Republican leaders. But we were able to achieve flexibility for schools that where we have imposed handcuffs on them and the way that they can spend money, and that'll make less money go further, minimize the impact on schools. We passed a measure for public-private partnerships that I've been working on ever since I got here. There is a whole list of reforms that will be very beneficial to the state as a whole, and I feel extremely good about that.
Okay, so now you have to primarily sell the electorate on the budget, the borrowing, and some of the transfers, and on the spending cap.
That's correct. We do have to go to the voters for some of those things, but it's because it's required. And we could do the spending cap just by passing a bill, but the problem is then it could be changed just by a simple majority. We have to have it in the Constitution so it has integrity and sustainability.
Well, some interesting months behind us and a few more interesting months ahead of us. But Roger Nilo, thanks for coming in, talking about your very controversial vote and where the state's headed.
Thanks.
And thanks to our viewers for watching Comcast Newsmakers. We'll see you next time.